Over the last 3 years, I pulled my ecom brand, Eric Javits, from the brink of bankruptcy and turned it into an 8-figure success it is today. So today, I'm going to share my journey of how I joined this company, the big mess I found them in, and how we turned it all around to generate over 50 million in the last 3 years. Let's get into it. Back in 2016, I had managed to build out a few agencies of my own that would turn out really well. One of which was a digital marketing agency that would partner with companies and we would help them run their ads as well as their PR campaigns. I found pretty decent success with this agency of mine, and it also gave me the opportunity to work with some of the biggest brands out there like Tiffany, Louis Vuitton, and many, many more. At the time, I was quite pleased with the growth of my agencies, but I always knew I wanted more of myself. Soon, my dream came true with words bragging about the success of my agency and the work I'd been putting in. New and exciting opportunities started knocking on my door. Many companies wanted my experience and expertise in helping them manage and scale their companies, but none of them really stood out to me. Then there was one, Eric Javits, a prestigious designer brand that makes woman hats worn by royalty, celebrity, and fashion enthusiasts all around the world. Eric Javits himself approached me and offered me a consultancy position at his company. And this was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up, so I pounced on it. I was looking forward to a change of scenery and of course, the opportunity to grow with a big name in the game. However, unlike what I initially thought it was like, Eric Javits had a lot more going on behind the scenes than I expected. I joined Eric Javits in June of 2020, and I was almost immediately tasked with the crazy job of saving the company. You see, in a time where brands were quickly shifting to e-commerce and selling directly to the consumer, Eric Javits was still trying to sell wholesale to other companies. This worked in the past, when buying items in person and going to stores was the most common way for consumers to shop, allowing Eric Javits to grow as a company. But things were different in 2020. With the growth online shopping overtaking that of physical storefronts, Eric Javits sales took a nosedive and we were losing a lot of money. And not to mention, this was around the time when the pandemic came around. So it was just blow after blow after blow, bringing the brand to near bankruptcy. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. I spent my first few weeks just exploring and understanding more about the company and how it was run. And one of the major issues quickly became very apparent to me. Eric Javits was being run extremely poorly. There were no structures or systems in place to help the company operate smoothly at all times, which created a lot of problems. And these problems would pile up on one another to form a stack of problems that was weighting the company down. For starters, there were significant oversight issues. We were consistently overselling products without understanding our inventory, which led the company to essentially flushing money down the drain. And the worst part of it all was when I questioned roughly 30 employees who were in charge of exports and inventory management. Not a single one of them seemed to have any clue of what was happening or how the business should be operating. And when I dug even deeper, I found out there were a bunch of people who weren't even contributing to the growth of the company. We were losing money by the day, and it's clearly an issue when you have got employees who take 150 to 200,000 out of your pocket while doing nothing. On top of that, Eric Javits was overspending on salaries and maintaining a lot of redundant roles. A lot of employees at the time were hired for the sole purpose of doing a job that could easily be automated or done more efficiently by fewer people. Finally, the company was relying on super outdated tech that just didn't cut it anymore. The ERP or enterprise resource system at the time was inefficient and couldn't support the company's growing needs. So from the people and the processes all the way to the technology, Eric Javits had left gaping holes that, if left unfilled, were going to drive the company into the ground. So I sat down with Eric to bring up the problems the company was facing at the time. And I told him that at the rate it was going, if we didn't take the right measures and solve all these problems, they were going to come back and bite us in the future and possibly lead Eric Javits going bankrupt. Seeing the severity of the situation, Eric quickly gave me the green light to start fixing the brand's largest problems one by one. The first step I took was to, of course, clear up our payroll. I conducted a thorough review of all our roles, invoices, and salaries. I noticed that e-commerce was turning out to be about 90 to 95% of Eric Javits' revenue at the time. So I cut a lot of high earners in non-essential roles and took on the entire wholesale divisions on my own. Plus, the company had a lot of tasks that were duplicated unnecessarily. Like at one point, we had 3 or 4 people in charge of something as basic as order process. One person to process the order into an Excel sheet, one person to tag and label these orders, another to prepare these orders, and finally a shipping manager to settle the shipping. It was super inefficient, almost like we were in the 1970s or something. So I eliminated a lot of these intermediary positions, giving more responsibilities to the remaining employees like my shipping manager and salesperson, which really helped us run just as sufficiently while at the lower cost. I also always believe that even if you give someone more tasks, they will still find a way to complete them. But that doesn't mean overwhelming your workers with work to the point that nothing gets done in time. So I focused on making the company run more efficiently with the help of software tools. We adopted an EDI software, which stands for Electronic Data Interchange software, and it essentially replaced our entire order, invoicing, and shipping notice processes, all of which were completely manual before. And the biggest change we made was to also implement a new enterprise resource planning system. We tried our hand at SAP Business One software, and it ended up working wonders for us. It integrated our accounting, our CRM, our sales, our reporting, essentially everything into just one system. It was so much easier to keep everyone on the same page, helping the company operate in a more efficient manner. Another one of the biggest changes I implemented to Eric Javits that contributed to its success today was the introduction of strict and proper SOPs, or standard operating procedures. We mapped out all the steps of our big processes like production, logistics, sales, customer service, accounting, and imported it into ClickUp so that we could have it in fine print for everyone to abide by. Moving towards leaner manpower, implementing newer softwares, and enforcing guidelines for our teams was really important because Eric Javits was in a period where we were transitioning more towards e-commerce. This meant we were able to better predict and analyze ourselves and come up with better ideas for the future. On top of that, getting leaner in terms of manpower meant that we had more resources to put up towards marketing, which is by far the most important aspect of e-commerce in today's market. So we needed to be smart with how we used our resources. And thankfully, we have results to back our operational changes. In fact, I still find it quite mind-blowing that we're able to downsize from 40 plus to about 10 people, but within that time also quadrupled our revenue. During this time, I also started steering the ship a lot more for Eric Javits. This was when I was offered the position of CEO in partnership by Eric Javits, and I took it happily. Since then, I've really focused on creating an environment and running the brand in such a way that the company is set up to keep scaling to 20, 50, or even up to 100 million a year in revenue in the future, all while maintaining this lean and yet highly efficient workflow. There's more to the story. If you want results like these for your brand too, we made a few huge changes to our brand last month that allowed us to make 2.5 million in 30 days, which was our top month ever. Watch this video next if you want to learn exactly how we did it.